Hello guys, welcome to the video. This is going to be a quick comparison of Copic markers and some cheaper, maybe less well known alternative. When I say cheaper, some of these are really ridiculously cheap, so if you're after a bit of a bargain, keep watching and hopefully we can sort you out. So the first thing I guess is, what is a Copic marker, or Copic marker, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, and I'll just whip out a few of the ones I've got here. So these are, excuse me, these are your basic alcohol markers, alcohol-based markers. Copics come with a chisel tip, I'm not sure how well you can see that there. And they also come with, and this is the reason most people love them, they come with this really nice soft brush tip on the other end. The good thing about this is a bit of fluff on that one. The good thing about these brush tips is it makes it really nice to get really nice smooth blending with them, and that's another reason people like the alcohol based markers, is because unlike a water based marker, if you are using Copic marker, you can layer and you can layer and you can layer and you can keep going over the same area a bunch of times, and you're not going to get that horrible pilling effect. You're not going to get the paper start to peel up against you, not until you utterly saturate the paper anyway. So most people who use alcohol markers know about Copic markers. Those are the kind of industry standard, if you like. Likewise, most people who use alcohol markers, who know about alcohol markers, will know about these. These are the kind of, I would say, the first alternative to a Copic marker is the Promarker, originally by Letraset and later on bought by Winsor & Newton, and I don't think anything's actually changed in the purchase other than that label, which I absolutely hate the fact this is a paper label, by the way. It's one of the least attractive things about these pens. Anyway, again, these have got a chisel nib on one end, a broad, actually looks like quite a lot broader than the Copic one. The Promarkers have a tiny little bullet nib, which isn't great for blending. It's not soft, it's kind of rigid, but it is good for your detail and getting into the hard to reach places. Winsor & Newton did release a version of the Promarker called the Brush Marker, which has the standard chisel, and then on the other end it has a brush. It's not quite as nice of a brush tip as the Copics, but you know, they are significantly cheaper. I'll put the prices up to these in a little bit. So those are the kind of two you see most places. If you look for alcohol markers, let me just sort my light out a second here. If you're looking for alcohol markers, those are the two you're going to find. Now here we get into the really interesting stuff, because these ones, these next couple of brands, I've got two more brands. These are crazy cheap. So these are kind of, you know, bargain basement, which, you know, doesn't necessarily mean bad quality, but yeah, let's have a look. So these are called touch markers. Let's get this up the right way. Touch markers. These are, I think they're actually a knockoff of a brand called Touch 5, because these are just called Touch Soft Head. And if I'm correct, the Touch 5s are by a company called Shinhan, and these are just by Superior, which, you know, doesn't sound like a brand I've ever heard of in the art supplies world. These have the chisel nib, which is, you know, becoming overly familiar now, and a bullet nib. There isn't a brush version of these. There is a brush version of them if you buy the legit Shinhan ones, not if you buy the cheapy knockoff ones. It's a trade-off that you've got to make, basically. And last, and in fact least at the moment anyway, are these ones. I've never seen these before. There's a shop in the UK called The Works, and they sell mostly books and gadgets and kind of like your basic beginner's art supplies, so if you don't want to spend too much money. These are, I didn't even know if they were alcohol markers, because all it says is art markers on the cover there. But they are actually a set of 6 alcohol markers for £4. £4 for 6 alcohol markers is kind of crazy. They are body-wise very, very similar to the touch markers. I think they might be a little shorter. Oh no, they're the same length. Yeah. Again, chisel nib, you knew that was coming, and a bullet nib. You're not going to expect a brush nib at that price, but you know, imagine that if I'd have opened these and there'd have been a brush nib, that'd have been fantastic. Best day of my life. No, not really. So yeah, these were, like I say, these are £4 for the 6 markers you've got there. In comparison, you have the touch markers. These I got from a local craft shop in the UK called Craft and More. They're usually £1.75 each. If you buy them as a, I think it's 4 for £6, which makes it, those ones cost £1.50 and then this one still costs £1.75. But if you buy these on Amazon, you can get the, sorry, I should have said, these are 4 for £6, so it's £4 for 6, which works out to about 66p a marker, which is just insane. This, even more insane, if you spend £36 on Amazon, you can get 80 of these markers. 80, which works out about 45p per marker. While this is all going, I'm going to be putting up the American prices because I know some of you are not going to be based in the UK. These are sold from a Japanese seller, so they should be available worldwide. These ones I doubt you'll get outside of the UK, so sorry. Promarkers are available for around about £2.25 each in my local craft store. If you buy a set on Amazon, you can spend between £12 to £15 depending on the set that you're going for. If you go for a basic colour set, you're probably going to get, you know, £12 or so. If you go for one of the manga centric colour sets, which are a lot more pastels and a lot more kind of mid-tones, it's going to be closer to 15 because those are a bit more difficult to get hold of. Then you have these bad boys. These are significantly more expensive than the rest of them. A single pen from my local, so normally you'd expect to pay about £3.50 for a single one of these markers. My local art store, which I find sold these, sells them 3 for £9, which is, you know, fairly cheap. If you buy them on Amazon right now, you can buy one of their sets. So the Copic markers you can buy in like set A, set B. That will set you back around about £37.50, and that'll be for 12 markers, which works out then, if you do that, it's around about £3.13 per marker. So regardless of how you buy these, they are going to be more expensive than the other markers that we've got on show here. But you know, that might not translate into quality necessarily, which leads me on to the next part of this video, which will be testing the markers out. Okay, so let's get on with testing the markers. Before I do this, I should point out I am by no means an expert with any kind of art, in fairness. I'm learning, I'm relearning, and you know, all the alcohol markers and stuff, this is all fairly new to me, so it's one of those things. If you see me making any mistakes on the video, if you see me doing anything wrong, please point it out, because you know, I'm still learning. But yeah, let's make a start. So first of all, we shall do the Copics. I don't know, leave a comment. So first of all, like I said before, this lovely brush tip. And what you'll find with the brush tip is it's very, very smooth, very kind of glides across the paper. Seems like a fairly silly comment to make, but it does matter when you see some of the other markers here. And then you've got the chisel. Oh, that's a bit uneven. And the chisel is just your standard chisel. Find your way, and you know, nice even coat of colour. Let's move on to the next ones. I won't bore you as I'm colouring all of these in, so. Okay, so there are the colour swatches for the Copic markers. They're fairly even. Every now and again what you will get, and this is I think more dependent on paper than it is the markers. This is a piece of Bristol board. I think it's like 250 GSM. Yeah, 250. you know, sometimes you'll get this little speckling, like a little mottling underneath when the ink's dried. You can kind of see the grain of the paper almost. I'm pretty sure that's dependent on paper, because I get it on my Bristol board. I do have some blending card and I have some marker paper, and it doesn't do it on either of those. So, you know, could be the paper. Again, could be wrong, but there we go. So that was some, you know, basic colour swatches. You might have noticed I was going over them a few times, and, you know, kind of going back and forth. The thing with these is that if you try and go too fast with them, you'll get streaky pen marks, and that just looks like, you know, a kid's colouring in book at this point. If you want to get any result out of any of these pens, this is not just for the markers. You need to kind of go over them slowly, overlapping your lines, try and get as much of a solid block as you can. Obviously, unless you want that effect, because that could be what you're going for, but not me at this point. In terms of blending, these are fairly simple to blend. Oh, I've done it the wrong way around anyway. So what you would usually do is put your lighter colour down first. You lay it down quite heavily. The thing with these markers is they are quite, I don't want to say juicy, but the tips are quite, they let out quite a lot of ink. So you put your lighter colour down, you put your darker colour down next to it. This is probably a really bad idea to try and blend these two. And you go back to your original colour and you just try and kind of get these two to work together a little bit. And, you know, I've not picked the best colours here, so you're not getting a very good idea of blending on that one. I should have really picked a lighter red or a darker orange, but that's kind of the idea. Let's see if I can do it with the yellow into the orange. There's one thing that I had issues with when I first started using these markers was if you colour over a darker colour with a lighter colour, I was always worried it was going to wreck the nib of the pen, the brush. But honestly, it's like, you know, there's not any there right now. If there were, I just scribble it away, and the alcohol forces all of the rogue pigment back onto the paper. That was a really bad blending attempt. I'm going to quit while I'm ahead on those. So yeah, that's the Copic markers. I'm just going to do the same thing now with the Pro markers. So back in a second. Okay, so those are the Pro marker colours. One thing that really annoys me about the Pro markers, and about the rest of these markers in general, in fact, is that bullet nib. That it takes so long to get an even colour, an even coat of colour when you're using a bullet nib, because it's just, you have to keep going over it and over it and over it, and it's not a huge, it's not even a broad kind of bullet nib. It's a very small one, so that annoys me about the rest of the markers in general. But you know, it's, like I say, it's not a huge deal when you're looking at the money you're saving. These markers, they will blend the same as the Copics. In fact, you can blend them with the Copics, and they should have no issue with that. So if I try with this one, and then try blending in my Copic orange, and go back to my Promarker. So if you can see there, there's kind of a bit rough there, but there's there's a gradient between those two now, and if I were more inclined to do so, I could probably make it a lot tidier, but for the purposes of this, I think that's, you know, fair enough. All of these markers, in fact, I think any alcoholic markers, alcohol markers, not alcoholic markers, any alcohol markers can be blended together as far as I know. I think the one you might have problems with are Winsor & Newton do a pigment marker, which is not, I think it's alcohol based, but I'm not entirely sure, so I'm going to do a test of those at some point. But for now, you know, let's just say that they're all interchangeable in terms of blending. Again, I'm going to do the exact same thing, this time with the touch markers. Okay, so the touch markers are swatched. They actually feel nicer to use than the Promarkers do. There's something, the chisel nib is a lot, the chisel nib's a lot softer. It's a lot more kind of, definitely more juicy, which is, you know, is a good thing when it comes to pens, trust me. The bullet nib is a lot softer, and that was much easier to use, although looking at it, it looks kind of disgusting under this light, but, you know, it works really well. I'm not going to demonstrate blending with these. Actually, I might try between the red and that, what I thought was going to be orange, but it actually looks like it's an orangey red, so I don't really think it really matters which way around I do these two. A nice layer of colour. And then my vermilion. And theoretically, I should just be able to blend down this. So, oh yeah, they blend quite nicely actually. Yeah, not bad at all for the money. And if you can get one of the big sets of these, I guess you're going to be, you know, in a lot better of a situation. The one thing I do kind of, they're all guilty of this to some extent. These are kind of, I guess, more so. The colours on the ends of the pens that should be the indication of what the colour is inside the pen, it looks nothing like that. That's a really bright green on the end of there, and you've got quite a muted one. Like I say, I thought this was going to be an orange. Turns out it's kind of a red. But, you know, again, for the price, I keep making excuses based on price. It's not all about the price, but with these things, you know, you can't really expect too much of them. The one thing I'm noticing as I'm going on through the swatches, as the ink is drying, I'm seeing a lot of that speckling that I was talking about. I don't know if you can see it on the camera here because it's not particularly zoomed in. I don't know if I can zoom in. No, not really. It's there. I'll try and get a photo of it to cut into the video, but you know, just be aware. So these, now we have the the final markers, the Boldness, these cheapest chips ones that you can only get in the UK, sorry guys. And these ones are interesting because all of the marker systems use their own colouring convention. So this one, this red is R46, and this blue is BG05. This one is 0567, it's there, you can't really see it, it's absolutely tiny. These Boldness markers use the exact same numbering system as the touch ones, which makes me think even more that they are probably just clones of each other. These are both R14 vermilion, which now that I read that, I realise I probably should have realised that was going to be a red. Anyway, once again, we're going to skip forward a little bit until I've coloured in all of these little squares. Okay, so those are the Boldness. I tell you, the first thing I realised about these pens is, in terms of quality control, there can't be any. There must not be any quality control at the factory where these are produced, because they are badly put together. The lids all kind of want to go on at this slightly off-kilter angle. You can't really see here, but the lids, none of them sit straight unless you twist them around manually like that, of course. The nibs are, the chisel nib somehow manages to be uneven. Like I struggled with the orange or the vermilion to find a flat surface, to find a flat edge of that nib. This one, for the, what's this one called? The deep red, is really nice. And I thought, oh, this is, you know, good start, it's really nice. But the time you get to the yellow, you'll see I didn't even try with the yellow because it's rock solid. It feels like it's made out of, feels like it's made out of plastic, which it probably is of a kind, but not fibrous plastic. It just feels like a solid plastic piece. I'm probably being quite hard on them because, you know, again, they are quite cheap, but they're not as cheap if you buy them in bulk as the touch markers, and these were really nice to use. In terms of the colours there, the deep red's quite nice. There's not very much speckling on that. the orange is, the vermilion's doing a weird thing where it's kind of, it looks like it's almost oversaturated the paper, which I didn't really understand because I didn't go too hard on that one. It's a very dingy orange as well. The yellow's okay, but that nib was a pain in the bum. This green is just suffering from the speckling, probably worse than any other colour on this page actually. The blue's nice, I like the blue. The nib was, you know, not great, but it was a nice colour. And this one is a bit of a bonus, comes with a purple as well. So it is what it is really. It's £4 for 6 markers. It is one of those things really where you do get what you pay for, because it's all well and good paying £4 for 6 alcohol markers to see if you like it and see if you enjoy using them. But the gulf in difference between colouring with one of these and one of the Boldness, if I'd started with the Boldness markers, I probably wouldn't have bothered with the Copics, honestly, because I would have thought that was what all alcohol markers were. I'd recommend instead going kind of middle ground, start with the touch, or if you can, the brush markers, because you know, if you don't want to put a lot of money into it, and it is a lot of money once you start collecting all the colours, and there are hundreds, you're sinking thousands of pounds into it. Before you do that, before you go crazy and think, oh, I want to colour like my favourite artists, just buy a couple of these. Buy some cheap sets off of Amazon. I'll pop links in the description down below so you can see exactly what sets I was referring to when I was giving you the prices earlier on. You know, just do some colouring, download some pictures, draw some pictures, colour those and see how you get on. The difference between a brush marker and a Copic, not huge. The brush isn't as nice, it's a lot more, it grips the paper and it squeaks a little bit when you're colouring with it. It's kind of like, well, this one's not doing it now, but trust me, a lot of them do. You get a squeaky noise when you're colouring. Which one was it, this one? Yeah, not so much with that one either, but the difference between a Promarker and a Copic, not massive. The difference between these things and a Copic is enormous, and you might as well not bother with these if you're at all serious about learning to use these things. The other thing with the Boldness markers, the main reason I'd stay away from them is, apart from these 6 colours, I think this was probably like an end of range thing, because apart from these 6 colours that you've got here, the only other set that they do is, so they do 2 more sets, sorry, one of which is a non-alcohol based kind of metallic marker set. So you get 1 gold, 1 silver, 1 copper, I think it is. But you also get these, what look like they should be some lovely pastel colours. This is one of the things that I really, really dislike about these, is this colour is super misleading. This one especially, actually. So this again, this set of 6 pens was £4. These ones are called the Brights, and I think these are called they're either called the Mid or the Pastel. I don't know. Either way, lies. This lovely blue, this lovely pastel blue that we're about to lay down here, is fairly, oh no, it's not a pastel blue at all. It's more of a, let me do it over here actually so you can see. That's grey. That's kind of that's a cool grey. It's not blue in any way. I wouldn't use that as a blue. Pastel peach. Pastel peach. Let's see. This has got to be a pretty colour. It's not a bad colour. In no way is that a pastel. That's so bright and so saturated that if you were using that. So what's this one? E02. That's more of a pastel than that one is, and that's, what's this one? E95, isn't it? No, that's quite bright. But I dislike how poorly labelled and poorly pastel pink. Oh, my camera, pastel pink. That is luminous. Excuse my language there, but that is neon pink. That is practically a highlighter. You could go through a textbook, highlighting the lines of text that you were interested in that, and you know, nobody would know the difference. The other ones are, you know, a little closer, but that's kind of just because this is a brown, you know, hard to get brown wrong. This is a green called bronze green. It's not super bad, but it's not bad, is it? That's brown, this is green. And warm grey. Yeah, I guess I'll give that a warm grey. That's well, actually on camera there that looks a lot redder, but it is actually quite close to a warm grey. So yeah, my personal opinion, if you're just starting out and you've got a little bit of money to spend, go for the Promarker sets, or the brush marker sets especially. Actually, don't worry about the Promarkers. Brush markers are much better investment. If you want to, you know, get a whole set all in one go for the touch, because they're super cheap and you'll get an idea of whether you like using the alcohol markers or not. I've gone through a fairly massive collection of Promarkers, brush markers, before I found somewhere that was selling the Copics, and now my Copic collection is building up. It's just got past where my Promarker collection was, and I honestly never touch my Promarkers now. So they are that much better, but they're also that much more expensive. So yeah, I guess the real kind of result of this video is, or the only real result of this video is, don't buy these. Don't buy them. They're pointless, and you'll only end up upset that you did. Even at £4, that's, you know, that's a cheap bottle of wine. Well, thanks for watching anyway, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed some of this video. Hopefully it was a bit informative for you and somebody learned something. If you liked it, give us a thumbs up. Thumbs up? A thumbs down. No, thumbs sideways. Give us a thumbs up on the video, or like, even. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this, because I will be making more reviews. The next one I do, I think, is going to be on different paper types, especially different paper types to use with the alcohol markers. So that's going to be one worth coming back to if you've enjoyed watching this video. Until then, hopefully you guys enjoy drawing what you're drawing, colouring what you're colouring, and yeah, I'll see you soon.